I sent you the recordings you asked for from our
Yeah,
last
I
full
saw
day.
that. That was brilliant. Yeah,
I
cheers.
listened to them again in the evening. They were pretty good. They were very helpful.
It's just me. I can't swear if you're recording.
Yeah, you can swear. It's just no one will understand you in your accent.
Fair one.
Okay, so
Okay.
for first up, just some minor UI tweaks here. Anywhere in the window, you can hit Control Space, and then you can begin the transcribing, but you also get a little bit of feedback from the icon saying what's going on, and you hit Control Space
Hmm.
again, and the recording ends and is submitted.
Okay. Cool. Cool.
The recording
Yeah.
is,
There it is.
it's like they've upgraded something. It's fucking snappy now. Like the API is fucking great. Um,
Yeah.
and accurate. Accurate as all hell. So that's cool.
Brilliant.
Gonna have to add some extra prompting into um, when I say words like hell or you fucking dipshit. Sometimes it doesn't quite pick that up, and so I need to add in a dictionary of words to make the transcription accurate.
Have you seen whether it's doing it? I used to call it the smut filter when I
No,
was working with Nintendo.
there's no smut
Um,
filter.
there's no smut filter. Okay.
What the fuck, you filthy motherfucking piece of shit, Jesus Christ, cunt.
We've just been demonetized on YouTube.
Yeah. So yeah,
There you go.
it doesn't do any moderation in the transcription. Just to test that. Um, I'm glad
Okay,
that we established that.
good to know. Good to know.
And I think yeah, GPT-4 doesn't actually kick you out for having a potty mouth either. But
Mm,
I think it firewalls you based on topic. Like if you
hmm.
talk about some forbidden topics, it will flag you. And
Hmm.
yeah,
And then bar you, which is reasonable. They can't do anything else, can they? They've got
what else can you do,
law
man?
on.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and you
exactly.
know, it's not illegal to swear. It's just illegal
Yeah,
to say bad
ask
things
how.
about.
Yeah, ask how for kitty fiddler photos,
Yeah,
for
yeah,
example.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That's fucking, it's like, Christ, guys, just fucking,
That's totally reasonable.
oh, God.
In fact, I'd
Yeah.
be shit myself if it didn't. Okay,
All
right.
right. So I've
Okay.
come up with a bit of a testing workflow for you. Here's an example of what's called the goalie.
Mm-hmm.
What's going to happen is you're going to load it, and it's going to be loaded with a bunch of prompts. Ignore what Hal's doing now. Hal has no idea what to do, but
Mm-hmm.
what I'll do is I'll make a covenant that is set up as the goal tester that will allow you to type or paste multi-line prompts in there and see how the goaler works. So the goaler,
Uh-huh.
so you can sort of have a test thing in your text documents, and you're just copy pasting and dropping it down, and at the same time you're busy modifying the assistant instructions to try and tweak what how the goaler works. So
Mm-hmm.
I imagine your workflow would be that you're here fiddling around with the bot things, you're providing documents or whatever, and then you can either just hit refresh to get the default prompt test go in, or you can just paste a big wad of them down here, um, and then it will just automatically run it for you each time, so you're not dicking around with like line at a
Um,
time type of thing.
okay. We might have some distance here. Let me just double check this. So we've got the goalie, guardian, and ruler. Ruler is preferences. Goalie is context switch.
Yep,
And guardian is are you in or inside of the pale?
yep.
So the guardian uh, it sounds reasonable for any business to put in um, what what you can do at work, add customers and all that kind of thing, and that
Right.
is that's reasonable. The goalie, I think, is can't be taught about any particular goal, but needs to be able to spot what the goal is,
Yeah.
and then advise on saying that was a goal switch. You're now talking about
Correct.
Rogan Josh,
Yeah.
not
Correct.
umbrellas.
Correct.
Um, the goalie is all about system prompt. How do you recognize a goal?
Yep.
Um, and if there's a new goal, yeah, okay, you need to understand what that context is.
Yep.
Goalie, that's your job. And if the context switch is something similar to something that Dave's been talking about in the past, say, I think you're now talking about this, and then put it out. But there's that's all system prompt stuff, whereas the Guardian says you can only really talk about customers, routes, and trucks.
Um. Yes. Right. I just want to separate out the guardian and close out the goalie. The
Mm-hmm.
goalie, as you say, is correct. The way that I plan to program it is thinking about it like an assembly block in the pipeline where
Mm-hmm.
um, a prompt goes in and the question is asked of all these buckets that exist already, which bucket or buckets does this prompt belong in terms of
Yeah,
goals?
that
With the
that's it.
with
That's
two
exactly.
special cases.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there's a special bucket that acts like the null bucket or like the I don't know what the fuck you're talking about bucket where Hal's like
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what this is. It's basically I need
You've
more
gone off piste.
information
Yeah,
to even
you've
know
gone off
what
piste.
bucket to put. You're like you're so far gone from I don't know what to do. So help me out here. What are you trying to do? So there's the sort of the figuring out bucket, and then there's another special bucket is the new bucket where you might create one.
Right,
Yeah,
right. And there's also I would add into that. We can go through this. What we've been thinking about the goalie, but each bucket needs to be updated, so they're dynamic. It might
yeah.
be that you're talking about Rogan Josh, but actually you're talking about curries.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that's
The
yeah.
goals get updated every single time there's a new prompt. All the
Yeah,
goals are able to be possibly modified depending on what.
exactly.
Yeah,
And then there's the no bucket saying, Dave,
Dave, mate.
come on, man.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
No fucking idea what you're doing.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, you're good, good,
Yep.
good, good.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, we are synced.
so
Yeah.
then comes the question of, well, there's a special kind of jitter called a goalie tester. That goalie
Mm-hmm.
tester is what I'm sort of trying to show you the principle of here, where there's a stream of prompts of all kinds, and it's a it's an app that takes the prompt and then runs it line by line against the goalie and
Mm-hmm.
shows you what the output is so that you can say, well, yes or no, I think the goalie's good, or you can tweak the goalie and see what happens.
Oh, right. Okay. I'm not sure I've got you what you're saying there. Are you saying that you can ask goalie, what are my goals? Remind me of what I'm trying to do here.
No, I'm saying that
No.
I want to make you a test harness where you
Ah,
can
right.
drop
So this is
in,
behind the scenes. Right.
you can drop in, say, for example, 5 example lines of of a stream of prompts in order,
Uh-huh.
and this test harness will run them into the goalie one at a time and show you the results that come back.
Uh-huh.
So you can exercise the goalie and get a feel for how it behaves without the tedious line by line entry, because the goalie does process line by line, taking into account what it has processed before. So 5 lines
Let
is
me.
the same as 5 calls to the goalie, but you can't make them in parallel. They must be one after the other.
Yeah, yeah. Let me check this through. So, there. What I'm thinking about the goalie is, first of all, given the current session that Hal is telling the goalie, That's from Dave's prompt and responses.
Yeah,
Um, what is the goal? What's Dave talking about here? And is there anything in my local history that is similar to that?
yeah,
So there's two steps there. This thing. What was his intent, and
yeah,
a selection on anything that's close.
yeah.
And what you're saying is there's a test here that I can put in. Um, what would be the test inputs? So would it be a session? So put in a session here
This
and
is
do
a
for a
session.
contact
Yeah. So
selector.
this string of five prompts is the same as Dave going add a customer, enter, change directory, enter.
Right, I see what you're saying. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And how much are bananas?
Yeah,
It's like, well,
yeah,
um,
and
right now the context, sorry, the goal would be Dave obviously wants to sell bananas to
yeah.
customers.
Right. Well, that's pretty
Yeah.
advanced. But yeah, but yeah. So you're like, add a customer. Okay, Dave wants to add a customer. Change directory. Well, changing directory. We're not really sure what that goal is. How much are bananas?
Yeah,
Seeking
because
banana pricing.
you got the recency
Yeah,
that it does really well, but here you've got context search. Do I need
yeah,
an umbrella?
yeah, yeah. And that might be like
Gardens
it
then.
might be like total goal switch. Like
Yeah,
big flashing red
yeah, yeah.
light, radical change in context. Dave,
Exactly.
you ADHD guy, have you seen someone about this? And then delete customer, it should sort of go back to being,
Right.
near,
Yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly.
right?
So there,
Um,
yeah, yeah,
an
yeah, I get
important lesson or realization is that the
it.
the Guardian can operate only on goals and be just as successful, possibly more. So you
Mm-hmm.
run the goalie, and then when the goalie comes back with its response, the Guardian goes, "Is this set of goals something that we can cover?" I don't think the Guardian needs to process each and every fucking thing that you do because
Um,
because sort of
y-
like what's the question to the
yes.
Guardian really? Like, is this on topic? Oh, what was the topic? Oh, the goalie picks the topic. Okay, it's sort of.
Oh, I see. So the goalie has some kind of interchange with the guard
I think I
as
think I think the Guardian.
if we're sorry.
Sorry, you go.
Yeah, yeah. So, if I'm trying to understand what you're saying, the goalie is the one that deals with context switch,
Yeah,
which is basically swapping in and out of sessions
yeah,
in order to not pollute it.
yeah,
The goalie should also understand that some of these goals are inside the pale, as it were, because the
yeah.
guardian's there just to say, like, if you're going to write to the company's database, you know,
Yeah. That's not quite right what you're saying there.
uh,
The Guardian is primarily there to make sure that Hal only does things that Hal has been trained and tested on.
well,
the the
yes,
the
exactly,
the rules
yeah.
about can you write to the company's database, that's artifact layer. That's like hard
Yeah, sorry.
permissions.
Let me tighten that up. The phrase I've been using is inside and outside of the pale. So inside of the pale is stuff that um, your goal is to do your work because you've turned up and you're doing your work.
Right.
Uh, in which case, the guardian is quite happy with that. If the goal is beyond the pale, as in do I need an umbrella in Kincardine, then there's a number of things ultimately in the background that we can do in terms of who pays for the GPU calls and etc. But what it doesn't do is I need an umbrella in. Do I need an umbrella in Cardin? In Cardin, add a customer to buy an umbrella.
Yeah,
If that
absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
if the guardian says no, no, but the goalkeeper is there to never bother the guardian
It
if
comes
it's
first. The
if it's
goalie the
beyond the pale.
goalie processes first, and
Yeah,
then it'll, no matter what you say, it will always attempt to find a goal, and then sometimes your goal will be forbidden by the guardian for different reasons. Some of them
yeah.
might be, the most common one is we're not competent, and it's better from our point of view to deny the user than to attempt to do something that
Yeah.
we haven't tested how on.
Yes. Yes.
Number two is like things like who's paying the bill and is this appropriate for um, depending on who's paying the GPU cycles, etc.,
e-
etc.
exactly. So there's almost it's like the goalie has one goal that then triggers the guardian.
Yeah.
Um, so we're saying your goal, Dave, is now to do your fucking job. And okay, at that point, you go to the guardian saying which parts of the job are you, um, or is it safe to do? And then it will pass that back up. Okay, so there's a loop there which I don't actually have. Okay, I'll review this video. Are you recording? Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll review this video. But there's a loop back there that's interesting, which is from Dave Howe, goalie. You're talking about your job. Down to guardian. Is it safe to do this? Back to Hal. Back to Dave.
Okay. The other major thing I realized was that
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a way to do testing in a very different. Or this is basically an extension of the idea that you suggested, which was basically natural language testing. And so what I've come up with
Yeah.
is I think I can write tests for example, for the goalie, where I can use a user story type of a statement or statements that says what it's trying to do, and then what I'll do also is things like I think that format can have a bunch of extra stuff like assertions, right? Like I can be here's my assertions for
Mm-hmm.
um adding a new customer. So I'll have like the story as to what the fuck's going on, the uh kind of how to do it part,
Mm-hmm.
but maybe not so much really. Like the prompting, I might have some example prompts, but it should be able to generate some prompts that sound like a user trying to do this thing, assuming like a novice user.
Mm-hmm.
And then afterwards, it'll be doing assertion checking to check the state of artifact, to assess the qualities of the prompt that came back, things like that. And I think that you can actually write them in these natural language text files here, and then I believe I can make a simple tool that will digest that and turn that into something that you can see in this format. So it'll sort of break them all down
Mm-hmm.
and have them kind of running in parallel, all these different tests. So it'll just sort of fling out a bunch of sort of like how this looks, where it's like there'll be a whole lot of parallel API calls kicking off that are
Uh-huh.
executing the tests and then giving you a result back. And I really don't think that that's very hard at all, given what we've got so far.
You know, flip back to that previous screen because I quite like that. The and also it reminds me
This
of
thing,
remember, yeah, this is so how I'd suggest trying this is this is a description of what the intent is. So
yeah,
rather than how to be asked to, it's like Dave will try to add a new customer,
yep,
um, and here's what that means.
yeah. So there'll
Here,
be a set of processing tools that I'm sure you can figure out how to make them that'll sort of convert these statements into clean, rule checked
right. I mean,
statements.
well, it's okay. That's all. It's still magic, isn't it? But it wouldn't be hard to pass each one of these into an assessor, saying, okay, given what Dave was just asked to do, um, are you above a trigger point?
Yeah,
The point I was going to add here is again this structure smells like. You remember that must, could, should, must not
Uh,
structure?
yeah, it's really closer to the unit testing pattern of prepare, act, assert,
Okay.
or arrange, act, assert. So you arrange the system in a certain way, you do something, and then you assert that it came out correctly.
Okay.
Um, you can fiddle around with the format and whatever, but definitely these chunks need to be processed by some kind of a bot to give them a minimum quality or a standard,
Yeah.
and then what I can do is generate test runners for them, with the idea being that as we tweak um, as we tweak HAL with different kinds of programming, like more documentation or descriptions or changing the system prompt and all that, these tests need to be increasing in their overall success metric. And that's
Hmm.
once we have been able to map out the key features that the customer needs to sort of have a version 1 working in production, then we can actually go to them and be like, we have this test suite that has executed everything that we know that you need, and it's like 75%. It's pretty good. And so that's the point where we can be confident in our release.
Okay. So, talk me through a bit more of the prepare, act, assert. Okay. So, prepare in this case is here's what the action is. The act is not here.
No,
Um,
I've,
what can
I've
I say
missed that. Yeah.
the assert is this part here. Is
Yeah.
that right?
Yeah. I think
All
that
right.
actually the act is could be synthesized by the LLM, because you're like,
Oh,
ask
one
Hal
second.
to do this, ask Hal to achieve this goal.
Yeah, give me 2 seconds. Sorry. Uh, Hello. Oh, I got coffee. Okay. Juice says hi.
Hey.
All right.
All right. So yeah, basically the I'm very confident that soon, probably possibly in the next week, we can have at least some kind of automated test suite that can give us some sort of confidence that our system can be used in to do what the customer wants.
Mm-hmm.
And if we can attach goaling to how these tests run, then you can say, well, did the goalie detect a goal? Like, this is basically serves as the guardian document as well as the testing document, because we can generate large,
Yeah. That's true. It should be
yeah,
identical, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
can, from this document, you can generate a large number of synthetic prompts that are all different, that all have different types of spice all sprinkled through them, that thoroughly test the system. And if they're all giving a good result, then you know that the system is kind of good to go, which is better
Yeah.
than traditional programming, because fuzzing the system or exercising or sweating the system is usually takes a lot of fucking time.
Mm.
But with the LLM, you can sort of generate that shit fucking endlessly, and
Yeah.
then really fucking hammer the system and have good confidence that your system behaves right, as well as checking things like the guardian bounds, and the effectiveness of the goalie.
Yeah, but also what it allows is some static place to go back to pistol whip the Guardian and Hal back in. If, for example, you did a half-arse thing, you're talking about CRMs, and you missed the idea that you need to run accounts at the end of the year.
Right.
you can put that back in after the fact, but it's static, so you can start to fine tune it. Possibly, we'll see.
This thing should be sort of. It's almost like this defines each release in a way.
Yeah, yeah. But not but and your your point on is essentially the same rules that the Guardian um, is following
Right.
in real time. Every change to any of the bots that are involved in an enterprise um, uh, set of bots run this through, and you know that the Guardian's going to have your back by
Yeah.
making sure it's just
Yeah,
healthy.
so
So
the mechanics of how
essentially
that
the same.
yeah, the mechanics of how that works are I'm not sure, but one approach to it is that if you put this test runner into fuzzing mode where it's just trying to come up with all kinds of random ways that Dave might want to do this particular task, like adding a new customer, then you can log all of the unique goals that were generated during that fuzzing round, and that set of goals can be used by the Guardian um, to check for inclusion or exclusion.
Right. Okay.
So if in all this testing,
There's a lot there, isn't
yeah,
there?
if in all this testing, the goal that just got generated by Dave sounds nothing like any of all the goals that were generated during this huge onslaught of possible ways to. You're beyond the pale. You are outside of the bounds. We don't, with confidence, know how to do what you want.
There's another thing here as well. I agree with that. There's another thing here um, in terms of user stories has always been a complete pain in the arse because you have to guess what the end user's wanting to do, and it's a nasty thing to try and figure out what someone else wants to do. However, we've got the goalie as well, so the goalie should be able to suggest saying that sounds something that you should be able to do. The Guardian should have said yes, um, and propose new tests.
Yeah, right. Right. So it really does get quite exciting because I think from this starting point, I can imagine a way that we can start to brute test the system prompts, or where we can begin to painfully generate the system prompts. So if we have this set of tests, it runs, say it costs like, for example, 50 cents worth of credits, which is a lot of credits to burn, and it comes out at a score of, say, 60%, and you're like,
Mm.
hey, modify the system prompts to improve the performance in these tests.
Uh-huh.
And then you allow it sort of a bit of a strategy on how it can uh, test, repeat, test, repeat, test, repeat, and
And you
then
get that feedback
the
loop. Yeah,
feedback loop, and then also detect when it's plateaued because you're like, look, I burned like $5 and I didn't get any improvement. I need a human. So you can basically, once these, as you say, new requests come in just by users using it, you can try and automatically improve the performance
yeah.
generatively.
Well, yes, exactly, and using exactly that same things. Say if you've got a company that needs a guardian, and the guardian starts off as blank,
Yeah,
and we train how to be able to. So go, Dave, ask for something on a blank guardian for enterprise. How goes right? Okay, goalie, what's his goal? Okay, here's the goal. Um, is that inside of a very short description of what the business is, but we don't have a test for it, then there's how could come back and say, no, you can't do that. Do you really want to be able to do that? So there's a testing thing where you can get a user actually say, yes, I really do need to add a customer.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
do you
So
need to add
there's a
customers,
bunch of
etc.?
interaction there that you can add. What really got me excited about this sort of collection or this line of activity is actually over here. When I make the goalie, I load it.
Mm-hmm.
It should automatically begin its testing. This testing could be considered an early form of jitter. And so having
Uh-huh.
a testing framework that was a jitter, as well as having a system prompt improver that was a jitter that depended upon the testing framework,
Mm-hmm.
you can start to see how jitters can be composed in a way like it, because I started thinking I should build this interface, I should build this thing, and then I was like, no, it's really supposed to be just one interface. And so if I can make this three box interface be in Storybook, be sort of primed, so it sort of starts in a particular jitter with a particular configuration, that's the
Mm-hmm.
same as writing a custom app to do this thing automatically as soon as I load the page. But it's still
Mm-hmm.
just a jitter, and there's no reason why it can't be always available all the time anyway. And so
Sure.
I start to get the feeling of jitter assembly. Like it's all these tools that are there. We polish some,
Right.
we improve them bit by
So,
bit, and then they get assembled into these, yeah.
so is there, are you talking about, if I understand, uh, a number of AI nodes that are kind of meta to the overall system that is trying to improve the, for example, the Guardian system prompt?
I was thinking about a specific
Uh,
inode.
sorry, sorry. Okay. This is valuable time. Can you say hi? I will be out as soon as I can. All right. Okay. All right. I'll be out. Sorry, man. My brother's arrived. Um, damn it.
Oh, that's all right. We can wrap it
All
up. I gotta go anyway.
right. Okay. Cool. No, this is really interesting. I will post you over the flow I've got.
Yeah, that sounds
Uh,
good.
I'm now working on I'm trying to tighten up whether the arrows I've got in the various points can actually be expressed as JSON,
Yep.
and what the payload is on each.
Okay.
I also think
Cool.
about what you're talking about in terms of the self-improving thing, and there's really interesting interaction between Guardian and Goalie here. I think
Yeah.
that's going to make it
Yeah,
really useful.
that actually seemed a lot simpler than I thought. Like goaling's kind of the key to the system because that's the thing that keeps the threads short and pure. Is
Mm,
they're all about one goal, and if you can have
yeah,
that, you're kind of good to go. So,
yeah,
um, the jitters, it just feels like I'm starting to see jitters or glimpse jitters or get a feel for them. And the testing framework I was thinking of is a collection
mm,
of inodes that are not specifically they're for improving any kind of system prompt. They're programmed to know about system prompt improvements based on a testing framework, and it starts to look like interface programming of old, or like interfacing, where you've got a test harness that outputs a certain format of data so that you can modify how the tests run, how they're presented, all that, but they still output a standard format, and then you have that being consumed by the automated attempting to solve it thing. And then
yeah,
a simple example is you can make a state board that has like the UI of the auto improver at the top, and then the UI of the test display are down the bottom. Both UIs are independently made, managed, and whatever, but they can be they can be presented together to give this compound application, which is a session where the AI is attempting to improve the performance in the tests, and the human is offering tips or suggestions as
Mm.
the generator goes and be like, oh, maybe you could try blah, 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 blah. And it becomes much more artistic and free how you suggest to the machine to try things, because humans can think up suggestions all fucking day, right?
Yeah,
Most of them are
yeah,
fucking negative, but still. And then the machine's just sweating its fucking ass off trying to like go down every path that you gave it. Like, this is what work is starting to feel like now.
yeah. I agree. I get that. There's an idea at the back of my head which is not fully formed yet, which remember ages ago, I was talking about how the forces think about how to do something. You've got the grand strategy, tactics.
Hmm.
It seems that there might be layers to the goalie, not yet, but layers to the goalie where your grand strategy is to run a CRM business, or
Right,
sorry, run a tracking business,
right,
and part of that is the CRM, and so there's checks up and down on intent, and that intent really is the update and the improvement to the Guardian, which is as a kind of side hustle, the test, so that when you get if you add in something that's new that the bots don't know about, but it still is in the theme of the grand strategy, then it should be considered, and then there should be some kind of dedupe on the intents and the goals, and allow the Guardian to update itself.
oh, right,
Do that.
like some automatic updating, but when it seems
Yeah.
reasonable according to the
Right.
yeah,
Yeah. So you're talking about this a similar thing on system prompts. I'm thinking
yeah.
in this particular instance about the interaction between the goalie and the guardian. And what it could allow is a new enterprise to actually start with a blank sheet of paper. All we do is say the grand intent is there are things called trucks, there are things called routes,
That's
there
right.
are
That's
things
right.
called
That's right. That's right. And so
networks.
the app gets delivered um, and built up gradually and slowly. And
Yeah.
what I'm the most excited about,
Mm,
there's a stack of things that build up to varying degrees of excitement here. But what I'm most excited about is that request for feature that
mm-hmm,
will come very soon can be
mm,
hooked up to money, because we'll be
mm-hmm.
like, you want this
Right.
little feature, it's described quite concisely. Everyone in your org has said, yep, that's actually, we need that thing. And I'm like, well, the auto solver couldn't do it. I'm busy. You know, someone else needs
Yeah.
to do it. You need to pay them, put some money
And
there.
there and there's a stuck right there. Yeah.
There's a stuck with some money, right? And then
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
money votes for what's, it's like, well, I've got, because we're auto generating stocks, I've got 50 to get through today. Why is this one more important than these other ones? And then money starts to come into the system, which is kind of what we want.
Interesting enough, and you'll see it when I send over the thing. I think it was almost an offhand remark in one of our overnights about noting demand. So if there is, in terms of putting money next to something, there's two sides of
Yeah,
it.
the thinker would have made a think that
Yeah,
would have attached to that. Um, so you'll get some sense of demand.
yeah, yeah. Which is going way back years ago. We were always talking about the very fact you've asked for something is value.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So thanks in advance is a proper. I think the thinker is able to give thanks in advance,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
that's
yeah.
that's really all it's doing. Yeah. So yeah, I
And
mean that's where I'm at. I think I'm done.
cool. I need to go and
Okay.
talk to my brother.
Okay. Sounds
Um,
good.
I'll send you over these screenshots. I'm good for tomorrow morning. Tomorrow evening, my time
Okay.
is due time.
Yeah. I'm a bit shaky
It's
for time, but if you send me over your times, I can do my best to attend.
I'll update that, and I'm also going to see if we can get in a couple more night shifts next week as well,
That
because
sounds good.
those would work.
Yep, that sounds awesome. Send them over.
Yeah, nice one. All
Alrighty.
right, cool.
Sweet.
All right,
I will see you later.
see you, man.
Bye.